welcome to Under Oath with Michelle Bell. I'm your host, Michelle Bell. I am a licensed attorney, and this is a show where I bring on my fellow colleagues, and we give you, the public, legal information without that consultation fee. So I like to start the show off with a segment I call Jury Duty, which is similar to trivia. And I'll give you a question, and the first person to send in their answer, well, the correct answer, your name will be listed on the website. So, you ready? Okay. Here's the question. When a drink is served on the rocks, it is served with what? Now, that's an easy one. Now, don't forget, you can go to the website, which is www.mbunderoath.com. And there, you can post your answer. You can see past shows. You can subscribe. You'll get all the legal tips that we send, notifications of new shows, and things of that nature. So come back after this little commercial break, and you're going to find out who my great guest is. And it's going to be awesome information that you really need to know. And don't forget to subscribe. We're on social media, all of them. Facebook, YouTube, podcasts, all of it. See you then.
I'll be right back.
Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
Probably okay isn't okay. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll be chatting you later.
Welcome back to Under Oath with Michelle Bell. I'm your host, Michelle Bell, and I'm here with my guest, Mr. Carl Chin of Chin Law, LLC. Hi, welcome.
How you doing, Michelle? Thanks for having me today.
Oh, of course, of course. So you practice personal injury and premises liability, correct?
Primarily, yes.
All right, so how's that going for you?
Well, it really depends. For a lot of our clients, it's unfortunate that they encounter circumstances in which they are injured as to no fault of their own. But we work hard to help folks recover financially for what they're entitled to.
Well, that sounds good to me. So between the two topics, which one are you going to cover? Because we're going to do like a part one and a part two for the audience. So you'll get something on each topic, personal injury and premises liability.
Well, let's start off with personal injury because it segues into premises liability, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, great.
It's fine. Good. So, all right, personal injury. Let's take it from the very beginning. So let's have an example where I'm a person, I was injured. Do you want slip and fall or auto accident, which is?
Well, those are great questions. We could start off with motor vehicle collision.
Okay.
And I use collision as opposed to an accident because accidents tend to be avoidable, whereas a motor vehicle collision oftentimes is as a result of someone not paying full time and attention to an event that was preventable.
Okay, so the words matter.
The words, well, not to the insurance company. The insurance companies would rather it be known as an accident as opposed to a collision.
I mean, collision sounds worse.
Well, it typically is. It means that, accidents are typically avoidable, right? Oh, it was an accident. But a collision, if I'm texting or I'm doing something that takes my eye off the road or I'm traveling faster than the normal speed limit, those things were avoidable. And so in personal injuries, in the context of a motor vehicle collision, is where someone is injured while driving a motor vehicle or as a pedestrian as a result of the negligence of another person.
All right, so I'm a person that was in a motor vehicle collision, right?
Okay.
I walk into your office, I just have injuries all over the place.
Right.
So what happens next? Like, what's the first step? Because I realize I now have to call an attorney.
All right. Well, that's okay. So first off, I'm licensed only in Maryland and District of Columbia. So the context of which I'm speaking is really in the context of those who we represent within Maryland and the District of Columbia.
But we can still keep it a little general.
But I'll keep it general because there are some nuances within Maryland, D.C., Virginia, North Carolina, and Alabama that actually differs from the rest of the country, and that's more in the terms of contributory negligence versus comparative negligence, and we'll get into most of that. But if you're a person that comes to our office and you've indicated that you've been injured as to no fault of your own,
Right.
what we typically have our clients do, because we've become somewhat of a technology law firm, so to speak, so we, aside from the normal or the regular person coming in, typically our clients call us up and they indicated that they've been in an injury. They have an injury or they were in a motor vehicle accident. We would then send them an intake form.
Okay.
And the intake form is designed to capture the important elements of the
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 collision.
collision
What took place, right?
of what took place. You know, sort of like when we were in school, in elementary school, you do a current report, a current events report, and you have the who, what, why, when, where, and how.
Right.
And so our intake form is designed to capture as much important information so we're able to help those individuals.
Okay, now what happens if you send the intake form and you're getting all this information, but the person feels like, oh, I think some of these questions are a little too personal. You don't need to know all of that.
Well, what we try to explain to them is that in order for us to help them, one, we want to assess what is it that they're trying to accomplish here. Oftentimes people are they're not injured, and it's a property damage issue, and they need some resolution about how do I get my rental car, or what's going to happen to my car if it's totaled, or maybe I didn't have enough cover. The issues that people face vary.
Okay.
So typically we explain to them that we focus primarily on folks who have been injured in a motor vehicle collision. And oftentimes they may have gone to a health care provider, be it a hospital or one of these non-emergency room facilities, and they may have also seen a primary doctor.
Right.
So we explain that the process of being compensated for their injuries really depends on how quickly they can resolve their injuries.
Okay.
And so treatment and things of that sort are very important. So it's important for us to get enough information so we could guide them accordingly, direct them to whether or not it's a medical facility of some sort or specialists to recommend for the type of injury that they had. So it's really important for us to get information.
Okay, so public, you get an intake form, fill it out, and put as much information as you can, because it will assist the attorney in deciding what course may be the best, or even if you are a client that they will be able to assist, right?
Yes, and the reason that we really want them to provide the information and input is you'll be surprised when you get a lot of detailed questions. It triggers a memory. Because oftentimes a motor vehicle collision or any kind of injury, you're so focused on the pain, the injury, the event that you may have missed an important part of it, and the questions and getting into the detail helps resolve and clarify some of the issues that could be legal issues to resolve.
Okay, so that's good to know. All right, I filled out my intake form. You've called me in. I'm in your office. What's the next step?
The next step is to, provide a consultation to sit down and go over exactly what you recall from in this instance, the motor vehicle collision, how it occurred, and what your expectations are. So oftentimes, folks will say, well, my back is stiff or my neck is injured as a result of, let's say, a rear end collision.
Right.
Okay, and oftentimes that happens because of how people sit in their car seats. They're restrained, hopefully by a seatbelt. Often, if they're looking in a rear view mirror, they may see the impact coming and they tighten up. And there's a lot of different things that happen. We don't assess medical injuries. We would advise them to see doctors and things of that sort that have an assessment. At which time, after they've performed an assessment and they've sat down and they've spoken with a medical provider, we may make recommendations for physical therapists that we've worked with and things of that sort that we know can provide excellent therapy to help them get to the recovery point, sometimes known as maximum medical improvement, so they can move on and we can then help resolve and settle their claim.
Okay.
Sometimes we don't get to the point of settling their claims and we have to file a lawsuit against the at-fault party.
Okay, so let me ask you this while we're on that part of personal injury. So when is it, because it sounds like there's two types. You have, I guess you can do settlement talks first or negotiations, and then if that doesn't work, you can file a lawsuit. But what's the time frame between, I guess, the accident and when you actually file a lawsuit?
And I noticed you said accident.
I'm sorry,
That's
collision.
okay. Well, it varies from each client because some clients, it could be very traumatic. The injuries could be severe, or significant, or fatal, which leads it into a wrongful death situation where someone has lost their life as a result of someone's fault. But in a non-fatal type of collision, it depends. It could be as soon as, let's say, 30 days to as long as a year, 2 years, 3 years, depending on how long treatment takes for that person to recover or at least reach maximum medical improvement.
Okay, so the person who, like, say if it was me in the example, whatever my doctor or whatever physician I saw or physical therapist that I saw, whatever they recommend for me to do, I need to complete that.
Yeah, you need to follow your doctor's orders. I think that is correct. And I'm going to give you a ding for
Thank
that.
you.
That is correct.
You're the first
That
person
is-
to actually
oh,
use
is that.
that.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. But yes, you've hit it on the nose, so to speak. You need to follow your doctor's orders. Your lawyer is not your doctor. Your lawyer is your advocate. And it's really important that you understand that because much of what we're able to do in facilitating and getting you the best possible reward depends on you complying fully with your doctor's orders and following up and doing everything that's necessary. Because if you don't, then it's very difficult well, it can be difficult to really establish what those injuries are and what the value of those injuries are.
Hey, I understand. So basically, if your doctor is recommending this or telling you to do this treatment plan, you need to do that. I mean,
Absolutely.
right. Why make your lawyer's job harder than it
Right,
needs to be?
right. We're your advocate, and
Right.
we're a team. So you have your physician, your medical provider, we have you as the client,
Right.
you have your counsel as your advocate. And so together we have to work together to make sure that you're receiving what's fair and reasonable compensation for your injuries. Because at the end of the day, you wouldn't be undertaking all this treatment and all these other types of steps if you weren't injured. And secondly, for the time, and while we know money can't replace everything, it is a means of where people can get compensated for their pain, their suffering, and their inconvenience. And we want to make sure that we're able to give you the full value of your case.
Right. Now, it may not be a large sum of money that you
No.
can live the rest of your life on,
No.
but something that's reasonable. So we're going to take a break.
Okay.
And when we come back, we're going to go into office hours, and that's where we have questions that were sent in by the public.
Oh, okay.
And you just
Great.
try to answer it the best that you can, okay?
Fair enough. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Thanks.
145 over 92.
180 over 111.
I had a heart attack, a cardiac arrest, and then a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a heart attack or stroke are far from invisible or silent. Get back on your plan or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
Welcome back to Under Oath with Michelle Bell. I'm your host, Michelle Bell. So we're still here with my guest, Mr. Carl Chen of Chen Law LLC, and he primarily practices personal injury and premises liability.
Yes.
But we were talking about personal injury. Now, this is a segment that we call office hours, and that's where the public sent in questions.
Okay.
And I'll read them to you because this one is not an audio or video like we've had.
Okay.
And I'll just read the questions that were sent,
Okay.
and you answer the best you can. Okay.
Okay, great.
All right. Good. When should you hire an attorney?
It really depends on the nature of your injuries. If your injuries are not severe or significant and you just had a motor vehicle collision and it really just amounts to property damage and no physical injury, I don't believe at that point you need to retain counsel or retain a lawyer. But I think you should retain a lawyer in the event you're unable to, if you've never been a claim representative, I think you should hire a lawyer. If you've suffered injuries and aren't able to really understand how to deliver to the insurance company the information that's important for them to evaluate your your injuries, if you're not familiar with medical terminology and understanding how the coding and things of that sort for the medical records, what they actually identify. Because one of the things with medical records that are very important is that while you may say you have pain and pain in the neck and things of that sort, that's only a subjective portion of your medical records, which means it only speaks to how you feel about your injuries.
Right.
So there has to be an objective view, and that is performed by the doctor by doing certain tests. They do an assessment, and then they have a plan that takes place. So I think it's important that once you are feeling that your injuries are over a period of days and weeks, and it may require more medical attention, you should really consider hiring a lawyer to make sure that you can get the best possible outcome out of that.
Sounds good. All right, you ready for the next question? Okay, so you've decided to hire an attorney, get that. What kind of information should you obtain if you're injured?
Oh, well, immediately after a motor vehicle collision, you should contact 911 and wait for police to arrive and exchange information while a police officer is present. I think it's important, and a lot of people don't realize that, but if you're able to, if you're physically able to take pictures of the accident at its present time, identify every witness possible, okay? So, and again, this is if it's at all possible for you to do this. Often if the motor vehicle collision is significant or severe,
you
may not be able to do that. So, but it's important that you take pictures, know the location of where it happened, understand factually what happened, make sure you identify all witnesses, and take as many photographs of the vehicles at the time of the collision, because those pictures may be helpful in establishing fault.
Okay, and wait for the police, call the police to come.
Wait for the police, and if necessary, call for an ambulance if you need really medical attention or others need medical attention.
Okay. Good. Now, I know a lot of people speak of statute of limitations, so this question is more on that topic.
Sure.
What is the statute of limitations for a personal injury case?
Okay, it really varies from state to state. Typically, like in Maryland, D.C., it's 3 years from the time of the incident, the time of the injury. So it's not, so if you had a motor vehicle collision on, let's say, May 1st, and it's May 7th, and you decide now that on May 7th, your neck is still bothering you, your back is still bothering you, the statute of limitation doesn't begin on May 7th. It begins on May 1st. So that's really important. And if folks are in a situation where they're trying to establish whether or not they have a claim or they want to file a claim, they should reach out to their local personal injury attorney to find out if their claim is still ripe. In other words, if they still have the opportunity and right to sue. Now, it's really important, though, Michelle, that while the personal injury statute of limitations we're talking about is really in filing a claim in court.
Right.
There are other statute of limitations that you have to be mindful of. Like in Maryland, you have what is known as PIP, personal injury protection. So it's a provision within your automobile policy, if you haven't waived it, where you have to make your medical claim within 1 year of the time of accident.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Then there's another provision, and this is specifically for Maryland. If you are injured by someone who is uninsured, okay? So if they're injured by someone uninsured, to file a claim with the uninsured provision for Maryland, that's 6 months from the time of the injury to be able to file your claim. So it really varies. So while the general sense of a statute of limitation may be 3 years for filing a lawsuit, there are other smaller, shorter statute of limitations, I should say, that vary according to the incident and the nature of how you were injured. So it's really important to talk to a lawyer about those things.
Well, you know what? That's good to know, because a lot of people don't understand. It's, you know, there are deadlines. Like, yes, you were injured, you were recovering, you may have been in the hospital for a long period of time, but that still runs from the day of the incident.
That's correct.
Not when you regain consciousness.
Now, if you're a minor, believe it or not, the statute of limitation is significantly longer. If the minor is injured and their parent doesn't take any action or things of that sort on their behalf, when they turn 18, they have 3 years from that point to file a claim if their parent or guardian hasn't taken any action to resolve their injury lawsuit or claim and things of that sort. But again, you need to really check with each state, speaking primarily for Maryland.
Right. That's still good to know.
Yes.
But those are the questions we have for Office Hour.
Okay, great.
So you did great.
Give myself a good old knock of the gavel. Great.
So now we're going to go back to personal injury, where we were before.
Okay.
So we did the intake, we've had the consultation, seen the primary care doctor or the physical therapist or anything like that, and now we get into what? Fault?
Oh, well, we established fault way before we get involved. The only way we can help you is as long as, especially in Maryland and D.C., as long as you weren't contributory negligent. And what that really means is that, and unfortunately, in my opinion, it's an outdated provision of law that applies here, but if you're 1% at fault, 1%, you don't get any recovery.
Wow.
In the state of Maryland and in the District of Columbia, and there's a couple other jurisdictions, only 5 in the United States that still follow that contributory negligence.
Just 1%.
1% at fault, and you get 0 recovery. So the initial intake is very important for us because it helps us establish, and we talk to the insurance companies to make sure that fault isn't at issue.
Right.
And even if fault is at issue, and we strongly believe that there is no contributory negligence, we still will move forward with the case. It just means that we would eventually have to litigate it.
Right. Okay. Well, you know what? That is great information on personal injury. I think you've covered a lot, and hopefully, you know, the audience has learned a lot from it.
I hope so. I mean, it's just a little tidbit, a little bit of nuggets to help people out.
And that's fine. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to go to one of everyone's favorite segments, which is called Plead the Fifth.
Oh.
And that's where I get to ask you random questions, and you either answer it or you plead the fifth.
Sounds like a plan. All
right.
right.
So we're going to take a break, and make sure you tune in for Plead the Fifth.
Thank you.
So we were walking to school. I started thinking about lunch. Mom packed me turkey and cheese.
She's
I really
smart.
want cheese pizza.
Sometimes her mind wanders.
We should have a sleepover.
I remember saying,
Laura?
I think I heard Mom say something.
The sign says don't walk.
Sometimes it's so overwhelming.
I really hope she doesn't
I
have
really
another
hope we
bad
don't
day
have
at
another
school
bad day at
today.
school today.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. Go to understood.org, a free online resource with support and tools to help your child thrive.
Welcome back to Under Oath with Michelle Bell. I'm your host, Michelle Bell. We're still here with Mr. Carl Chen of Chen Law LLC, who practice primarily personal injury and premises liability.
That is
right?
correct, yes.
Okay, so we're going to play one of my favorite games, which is Plead the Fifth. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm not a criminal lawyer, but I'll try.
Okay, good. What is the most embarrassing thing your parents have caught you doing?
I don't think they've ever caught me doing anything.
Oh, you were just that slick?
Wrong.
What's the most epic way you've seen someone quit or be fired?
Well, I guess the way I fired an employee.
Oh, good gracious. We can talk off camera about that one. I want to hear that. Where are you not welcome anymore?
I plead the fifth.
Okay, and what would the adult version of an ice cream truck sell?
The adult version?
Of an ice cream truck, what would it sell?
I plead the fifth.
This is not going so well. You're not letting the people in to
I
see what you
can't.
are.
I mean, because my mind is just wandering like an adult version of an ice cream
Yeah.
truck. I have.
Okay.
I
That's
don't know.
fine.
There may be children that are watching this show.
Oh, yeah, children do watch this show,
Yeah,
just so you
so,
know. But they love this segment.
Okay, well, I'm not giving them an answer.
All right, so last question.
Yes.
What was the best pickup line you've used?
What's your name?
What? That's the best pickup line?
Yeah, it worked.
It worked, yeah. You are married. Okay, well, that wasn't so bad, was it?
Well, one question wasn't, but yeah, the rest of them were tough. Those were tough questions. Those are tougher than the questions I ask my clients. Are you
That's
kidding
because
me?
it's personal questions.
Yeah, they are. But I ask personal questions too, but they're not at this level.
Well, you did great.
Well, thank you, Michelle. It
So
was
now
good.
we're going to go into cheat sheet. You're going to give 3 quick tips
Okay.
to the audience. What would it be?
First thing, take down as many notes to recollect your memory about the accident. 2, when you're talking to the at-fault party's insurance company, do not provide any statement. Do not provide any statement. And number 3, follow your doctor's orders.
Those are great tips. Okay, great. So that's the end of the show.
Okay, great.
You did awesome. Thank you
All
for
right.
being here.
Thanks for having me, Michelle.
Of course. Now tell the audience how they can reach you if they have
Sure.
questions.
They can reach me at IamHurtLaw.com.
That's a great website.
Yeah, IamHurtLaw.com, or they could call at 301-358-3981. I also have an app that's available for both the Android phones as well as the iPhone. If they go to either Google Play or the App Store and look up Chen Law app, they could download the app, and it works as a great resource for them to collect information as it relates to their personal injury.
So it's like a checklist.
It's not only a checklist, it collects information for them, it directs them to the closest medical hospital if they need. It helps them collect photos and things of that sort. So it does a lot more than just a checklist. It's really a data gathering tool for them.
Man, you gotta love attorneys that use technology to
Yeah,
the fullest.
absolutely.
It's great.
Absolutely.
So it sounds great. Download the app and definitely subscribe to us on, any of the social media. We're on Facebook, YouTube, podcasts, like anything, we're there. Under Oath with Michelle Bell. You can also go to the website, which is www.mbunderoath.com. You can see all the past shows, and you can submit questions for jury duty, for office hours, and for Plead the Fifth. So we'll see you next week. Thank you.